Hello and welcome to another magnificent episode of Super Woo Radio, and I am absolutely delighted to be speaking once again a follow-up interview with Steve Wybrow and Errol Kaya. Gentlemen, welcome back to Super Woo Radio.
Hello.
Thank you. It's a pleasure speaking to you.
Oh, it's fantastic. I've been really looking forward to this because there's been a lot of updates. There's been a lot of action. There's been a lot going on, a lot of interdimensional things going on. I've been churning and working through some really, really deep things, and the background work. And I'm really looking forward to us exchanging experiences and adventures. And from what you alluded to in the email exchanges that we've had, that you've had a very, very interesting and adventurous time of it. One of them, it seems like it was a very serious challenge, interdimensionally speaking. So I look forward to, I'm going to say, going into that space and looking into what your experience was, because of what myself and others are experiencing as well in regards to that. So we've got all the geopolitical stuff that's going on, and all the drama that's playing out. But my focus is going more interdimensional. That's the transition in especially the last 2 months for me. It's moved more into the interdimensional work, and what it's feeling like from your end, in your part of the world, as something similar is going on with you guys.
Most certainly.
I can speak for myself. For me, definitely, it's less physical. Well, there's still physical action, but my job role has changed. It's shifted from the demonstrations and all that, and it's like I've shifted into a new dimension, and my responsibility has changed now. It's more on the lines of building a community, a net that people can fall back on as the matrix begins to reject more and more people, and more people begin to reject the matrix. The system is for those people. It's a net for those people to fall back on, and they can join forces with us, and we can work together and sustain help each other to sustain ourselves, and like that, like Ubuntu, basically. So we're working on building a tribe now, basically, here in Austria, and connect. The tribes are coming together. They're building communities, and they're coming together. People are getting it. So there's no longer any need for the system.
Yeah, it's getting to the point where the system is going to be surplus to requirements, because we have, what's the best way to put it? We have, we're moving out of that victim mentality, and we're stepping into that space of being responsible creator beings, all of us in our own right. And then this massive wave, it's like a rising tide of co-creation between all the people that are really, I'm going to say, seated in the natural way of life and the natural way of love. And we have the capacity to express what we naturally are, humane beings. And beyond our human and humane nature, we are these really powerful multidimensional creator beings. So I absolutely love where all this is heading, and the amount of energy that's on offer at the moment. Understanding we're in a universe of contrasting expressions. So if there is this much dystopia on the planet and this much, I would say, tyranny and control, then what's the alter ego of that? You know, that means there's all this creative abundance. There's all this peace and harmony. There's all this joy, and both are here, but they're pulling our awareness into the dystopian expressions, and people are forgetting about the rest of life. So yeah, tapping into this new version of ourselves, you know, and the new version of life that is emerging. It's very, very exciting.
It's like when you lift your head up from the battle, from all the chaos that's taking place in the system, when you draw back into yourself, it's there. It's a total different energy, new world, and the energy is coming in. I can literally feel the waves now. It's like just bliss. And I look around me and there's no chaos anywhere. The system, we don't seem to be affected by the system anymore.
Yeah, like you just said, it's two sides of the same coin. Question is, how do you change sides? How do you do it? So you've got on the one side, you've got the dark, occult dystopia, run by a priest class.
Yeah, the sorcerers.
By ancient psychologists. And I want to throw that into the game, because if we want to go deep into psychology, I had a very intriguing idea come up from one of our Gnostic Takeover crew members, our dear friend Ahmed in London, on the highest echelons of this matrix control system, which is multidimensional in nature and is quite a thing to transcend. It's good that it's challenging, but we're doing it anyway. On the highest echelons of power, there's women sitting. Isn't that an interesting concept to contemplate?
Yeah.
And as he spoke, as our dear friend Ahmed, because he's amazing when it comes to psychology, I was suddenly reflecting back, and it's like, oh, you've got Sigmund Freud there, the Oedipus complex. You've got mummy issues, so therefore we will control you till the end until you realize. That penny really dropped, and I was shocked, because in the Truman Show level of reality, in the superficial, they want to make you know that the Bohemian Grove Club is the men's club, and they do all this stuff, you know, which I don't want to talk about and waste everyone's time. But that is exactly the inversion of what reality looks like. And they manipulate our psychology first and foremost. So when we can reduce it to that element and take a deep look into that, maybe we find out how we can change sides from one side of the coin, over from the dark and the dystopia into pure bliss, joy, what humanity was made for excellence to shine through all of us, supporting us, really listening to each other and learning. And I can share for myself, for example, what I've been going through these past 3 weeks have been the most challenging weeks of my life. Do you know why, George? Because I was coming back to myself.
Yep.
I've been so outside, screaming off the rooftops every week at the main square here in Linz. I'm not getting paid. I'm not here to get paid when it comes to the planet, when it comes to the plant kingdom, who I serve as a general, as a high commander of full protection for that life force energy that is flowing through every flower, through every living being on this planet. I can't charge money. How about that for a different view at life? And how about realizing that we have been disrespecting life from the foundational ground level by charging our human family for our services? And that's a bold statement right out there.
Sure it is.
But I think this is what we are transcending into and moving into. And I was so out there screaming off the rooftops, and there's hardly anyone there at the demonstrations most of the times. We've had major successes also, but there's hardly anyone. I don't look at the numbers. I'm doing it for something different. Most of the times I'm speaking to demons in the occult. They're there, not my human family, not the people I want to hang out with. There's demons in front of me that I'm ready to slay with the sword of the truth, because that's what it takes to really make a difference. And just these past 3 weeks, it's sort of like you're walking a thin line when you really want to influence the collective reality with the actions that you take. You think big. Okay, my intention in May was, I'm taking the planet back. Going to get the people that are going to help me. But this is the only thing that makes sense. And when everyone's laughing at me, I know that's the right thing to do, because everyone's laughing at me, because the collective is always wrong. It has always been wrong throughout history. It's always been a small number of people that have made all the change in the world. So you're walking a thin line to share our journey, our experience, and I think you can relate to that. And it's a balance act. And I just about cut the corner by realizing, what does my heart tell me? I've not experienced love in my life, and I closed my heart when I was 14 years old, when I first had my heart broken. And I had a challenging 3 weeks, and it's been beautiful. It's been such a blessing, and I was able to, and that's also what I can share here also with the viewers when it comes to deep psychology, of how you can work through in a quick way, because suffering is the optional element, not the pain. The pain comes up when you start to be truthful, like I'm sharing here right now with the audience, because that's my human family. That's the most important thing I have to share, is that I've been rejecting myself for a long time, serving the cause for the planet. And I could come back to myself, and now that is what has really brought me into my power, and I'm still in the process of it. And it's the most beautiful journey, although it really brings you to the edge of your trust, and through that you dive right into that trust and go from one side of the coin onto the other. There's a different world waiting for all of us, and it's the inner journey that's so important to share, also for people to relate.
Absolutely. That inner journey is what enables us to have the dialogue with reality, because we have the dialogue with ourselves internally. And I'm finding that is happening to me. Well, it's been happening throughout my life, but lately that conversation has gone to a new level, a new depth. And even yesterday, with events that played out in my life, and it was just this flow, this constant flow, and the signs, and to the point where I, just one example, there's where I live here, and I walk to the beach. There's this like timber boardwalk bridge that I walk through the Melaleuca forest to get to the water, and it's only about 50 meters long. And something I was getting involved in yesterday, I made a decision the night before, and there's a word called callistemon, and I needed to look up what that word was, and it's in reference to a plant, a flower, and it's known as the red bottle brush here in Australia. It's a native plant to Australia. And when I walk to the beach in the morning, because I had to make a decision, it's like a life-changing decision to change my residence, etc. And the scrub, all the Melaleuca scrub, it's all, I've lived here for 1.5 years. Never have I seen one of those plants there. And yesterday morning, there was this beautiful red bottle brush, one single one, amongst the whole Melaleuca forest that I walked through. Never seen it before. The whole time I've lived here. I asked people, have they ever seen that before? And they said they've never seen it before in the years that they've lived here. So all of a sudden this flower appears overnight, because it wasn't there the day before. I walked through there the day before. And then this flower appears overnight. So it's like, and the plant appeared. And it's like, how does that happen? It's like, this is the dimensional thing. So it's like a plant comes from another dimension into our space to show itself, to deliver the message, to speak. Yeah. You know, and these are the types of things that are happening, which are showing us that, you know, nature's saying, yes, we want you to go in that direction. You're heading in that right direction. Something as simple as that, but that is the language of love through nature.
Signs, right? Signs.
Yeah.
Mother Earth trying to connect with us.
Yeah.
Slowly. Beginning to show us the expression of her new face. Her the evolved version of herself. Slowly coming into manifestation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's massive. It's massive what's going on. And this is always what I ask in the beginning of every day, you know, what is reality? To ask foundational questions. That's what interests me, you know. And you can go into details, but that's the foundational question. What is reality? What's really going on here? And what is so fascinating about what we're doing here in Austria is you're on this journey, and it's one of the most innocent countries that I know of. I know different cultures in Europe. We're here in Europe, we've got different countries, different cultures, and it's such an innocent country. What I got to realize through Corona and through the works, the work that we've been doing with the energetics of the land, when you work with the energy of the land and sacred places, people will rise. They will rise, and you see things like that. Really, really, it's just so heartwarming to see what humanity is really about. That's what it really is about, and not all the filters that they feed us in our perception lenses. There's so many filters that are just not true, and that's something that people need to focus on and remember. That we've been, and I learned that from you also, all the narratives are against humanity and against nature. That's a very, very clear observation.
Yeah.
And we really need to find that. That's where you get right into the heart. If we're talking about heart-based intelligence, reflect on that. Ask yourself the question, what is humanity about? It's not the muzzles that you see outside. It doesn't matter. That is not interesting. It doesn't matter when it comes to the life that we're living. And yeah, that's sort of the question that drives me, and seeing the beauty around me and letting that grow organically. It's just something beautiful. And we see the people coming together here. The demonstrations time, we've been doing energy rituals, all set demonstrations in the city of Vienna. There's a lot of occult symbolism there. That is a surface portrayal of what goes on the energetics of the land. This obelisk that you're seeing is built on a specific point due to the energetics of the land. The church you're seeing is due to the energetics of the land.
Oh, yeah.
When we start to see reality from that level, things change. And we did energy ceremonies before the demonstration, during the demonstration, and we brought it to a point where people demonstrating now in Vienna, we're not at the demonstrations anymore. We already dealt with that. And they can't go into the ring of Vienna where we did our energy ceremony. No one is doing anything there because it's energetically sealed due to the energy work that we've been doing there. They're in the outskirts of Vienna, because normally they would protest at the ring. This is a given in this country. They can't do it anymore because we've taken over with knowledge that is ancient. It's what I realized through Errol and his understanding as a shaman and working with energies. I started to realize more and more that is the key information that they really don't want us to connect with and work with.
Yeah.
And have a connection with and an alliance with, symbiosis with the land. I'm just so fascinated by what I learned through the experiences.
Yeah, that's why they've been smashing the indigenous tribes for so long, because they wanted to sever that connection, to make sure that that knowledge and wisdom wasn't disseminated into societies, in, you know, amongst the people. Because if we do have that knowledge, then yeah, that changes everything. And but what I'm seeing is, you know, I haven't had very much shamanic training at all. It's very, very little. I've spent time with elders and of tribes and things like that here, originally elders and stuff. And I've spent a little bit of time with American Indian elders and Central American Indian and some South American, a little bit of Celtic, not very much. And however, what I'm realizing is I've got this shamanic heritage that's welling up inside of me. It's rising. It's I'm going to say re-emerging after being, it's like Sleeping Beauty. You know what I mean? It's been asleep. And now it's awakening. And for me, on a personal note, it's a bridge between my planetary shamanic heritage and my cosmic shamanic heritage. Just the word shaman just means Sha is light in star language, and you know, man meaning human. So I'm being. It just means a being of light, really, and working with the natural way of love and the natural way of life from the natural light, you know, and with natural light. So there's this really beautiful synergy that's now happening, because these controlling factions are working with a synthetic version of light and also a synthetic version of darkness that is their energy. It's like their medium, it's their fuel, it's their way, it's their language, and that is infecting the natural. It's like a distortion, like a, dare I use the terminology, I know it's overused these days, but like a sickness, a disease, a virus that is permeating the land and the planet. And I feel that what is emerging out from within each, those of us who have this going on, because not everybody's got it going on, everybody's got different vocations, responsibilities, things to do, you know what I mean, and obligations. But for those of us where it's happening, it's organic, it's natural, and we don't have to work at it. It's really by allowing it to emerge, giving ourselves permission to reignite that ancient, you know, shamanic way that is within us. And I've got a lot of friends who are really working it interdimensionally behind the scenes, like really, really working it. And like you, that side of life, yeah, it's not, you don't earn an income from that. That is that is work you just do. And that's why I've had to let go of doing one-on-one mentoring sessions with people. And they're like, other parts of my vocations have had to be, I would say, restricted or just pegged back, because I don't have the time, because I'm doing all this other interdimensional work. It's really interesting, the responsibility and obligation that, and the pull from the heart in my relationship with Mother Earth and the collective soul essence of humanity, you know. The way I describe it to people is, here you have this planetary being, and then you have this organism called humanity. And we've incarnated a time when those two entities are having a most dynamic relationship, unbelievably dynamic relationship. And we've come in at a time right in between that space, right in the middle, to engage between these two beings. So we're here to actually engage. We're here to participate. We're here to enact intentions and will, values, and make changes happen. And we have a natural right. We even have a natural authority to do that. That is the agreement prior to incarnating for the incarnation. And the more we tap into that natural right, that natural authority, and I stand in that. I mean, I even had these entities come to me and really impose intimidating energies, life-threatening stuff. And I just looked at them, and I didn't think of this as George. This is like my inner shamanic coming out, shaman coming out. And I looked at them. I said, look, feel my energy, and now feel into the depths, the building blocks of this reality, and tell me if I'm there. And they did. And then they came back and went, oh. And I went, that's right. Because if you understand, the tenet, there's this one main tenet of natural law, LRE law I'm talking about, natural law. And that is the prime creator of a reality is the ultimate responsibility of that reality and is therefore the ultimate authority of that reality. Now, I'm not the prime creator of this reality, but I'm part of the prime creator group where there's a huge conglomerate of beings who, in conjunction with the essence of Mother Earth, built this reality from the start. Yeah. And you two are a part of that. I'm a part of that. I can tell by, the essence that people exude that emanates from you, from your being. And there's a lot of beings in this world that have got that energy signature. So all we need to do is exercise that natural law. This is what they don't want you to remember. This is what they don't want you to know. Because if you do remember this and you start to embody it and live by it from that natural law, then you hold their existence in the palm of your hand. And if there's one thing these entities cannot handle, that's vulnerability. That terrifies them more than anything.
They're so scared. They're so scared. I mean, from my point of view, personal experience, it feels like the enemies of life, they're stuck with their agenda. And they don't know where to go with it. So they're having no other choice now but to reveal, to come out in the open with it, with everything they're doing, and try the intimidation tactic. Yes, we're evil. What are you going to do about it? And see how people react to that. I think that's the next card they're going to play. And but the thing is, they can't even do that. They're even stuck with that. I mean, my dreams are getting crazy. And I think they've tried everything, every trick they can try to get our consent, because we took command. We took responsibility and took command for the earth, and responsibility because they're not responsible. So they're not in charge, which puts us in charge, not them. So they're having to come to us now for consent to continue doing what they're doing. So they've been trying on the physical plane to manipulate us into consenting. That hasn't worked. So what they're doing is they've been trying to come into my dreams and manipulate me into giving my consent through my dreams, through witchcraft and all that stuff. And that has been failing as well, because I recognize I'm conscious in my dreams. I know what's going on.
Yeah.
And I just tell them, I know what's going on here, guys. I know who you are. I know who you are. And I say to them, identify yourself. Let me tell you who you are. This is who you are. And then they reveal, the hair falls off, the dark eyes. And I just tell them, oh, guys, listen, I'm just waking up now, okay? I'm going back. I'll deal with you in the physical plane on the earth. Because they need our consent. So it almost feels like we are holding back the entire evil force, dark side of the force, so that they're not able to come in and do what they want to do here in this realm anymore. And the light forces are coming in now and be more predominant, because I can feel the light forces being more stronger now than the dark force, to be honest with you.
And very key elements that we also talked about last time, what Errol just mentioned, and it's important to point this out, is consent and the engineering of consent. Yeah, we need to speak about these things and get to the bottom of things. So how does it relate to what you were talking about, George, to natural authority? Well, that links, doesn't it?
Totally.
They need our consent because
We
you
are the
are
authority.
naturally in your natural authority.
Yes. Boom.
Boom.
Yeah,
Exactly.
You just got to hold on to it, don't you?
Exactly.
That's it. You just got to keep recognizing and hold on to it. I'll give you an example of how you can give them consent for them to do what they want to do to you. I'll tell you one of my dreams. It's, for me, it's comedy, but it may sound funny to you as well. Last week I went to sleep, and all of a sudden, Vladimir Putin of Russia, he's standing right next to me, and I'm in this official building, and they've called me in, okay, and his advisors are in front of me, and they're trying to communicate with me, but they can't. They don't know what to say. So one of them says, "Yeah, you're a strong spirit, but hold on a minute. Can you give us a couple of minutes, please?" And then he takes his people, and they walk away, and they talk among themselves, and then they come back to me. And meanwhile, Vladimir Putin is standing next to me like this, like playing the stupid, while he's a part of it as well. And then they come back, and they try to communicate with me again. And then I'm like, "Guys, what do you want?" Because I'm straight, I'm direct. What do you want? Tell me, because otherwise I'm going to leave. I don't know what I'm doing here. What do you want from me? Okay. And they're like, "Yeah, well, basically we figured out," and then they get stuck again. "Just give us a second." And they walk off again, play the same game, come back to me. And in the end, I say to them, "Guys, listen, I know who you are, by the way. Okay. And you know what? I'm going to wake up. I'm going to go back to my realm. Okay. And I'll deal with you in the physical realm." And then the hair falls off, the dark eyes come. It's the same thing. They're just trying to manipulate me.
Yeah.
They want me to give them something so that I give them my consent, because they can't do it in the physical. They do it in the spiritual, don't they?
Exactly. Yeah.
And then they can come in and do what they want.
And it's fascinating to put all of this into context. So from my point of reference, what has gone on in the past, okay, since me and Errol met and the work we've been doing as founders of the Gnostic Takeover. You lock us down, all right, okay, you lock us down, well, then we take you down. How about that? There's a reaction to every action. And you never want us to respond instead of reacting to your action. So you pull the trigger, well, we've got something else in store here, and you are really afraid of that. So what happened in the past, plus key element, what's coming down in the future. That's what they're really, really interested in. Damage limitation. What they want is a controlled demolition, because they're a demolition themselves. That's at the core nature of their being, and they hate me for saying that, but it's true. They're agents of chaos. They envy us. It's the truth.
That's the truth.
They envy us.
The jealousy is off the charts.
Yeah. It's not even jealousy, it's envy. It's beyond that. It's envy. It's just, if I can't have it, they can't have it either. I'll destroy it.
Yeah, that's absolutely. That's what they're saying. If we can't have it, there's a faction out there that if we can't have it, no one can have it, and they are hell bent on destroying, utter destruction. Yeah.
If we can't become like them, then we will make them become like us.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
that
what
we
we're
can
seeing,
feel safe
what we're
again.
seeing with the injections too is a type of technology that's in there, and of course they're hitting the God gene for all the people that are in that way, that type of spiritual modalities, right? In what I call the hologram of the gods or the God matrix, and that's a form of spirituality. But they can't hit the real spirituality is coming from the mitochondria, not the other DNA code. So the technology they're using is hitting the control code, the DNA, what I call the control code, which is that, that double helix DNA that you see, and it's got all the markers and the switches. It's like a giant switch bank, because I used to be an electronics engineer, and it's like this huge switch bank, which then you hit switches in a certain on and off into a certain pattern, and that then alters the modus operandi or determines behavior in this regard. And so they were looking to do that, and the excuse was religious extremists and terrorism, and that's where they were coming from, to hit that God gene. But now it's morphed, and now they want to hit that God gene because that's the alter ego of where they're at. That's the other side of the game, the other part of the spectrum. And they want to stop people from connecting to that version of spirituality. They don't understand the natural spirituality, which is even beyond the hologram of the gods, which is like next level, way beyond any gods, any worship of any deities whatsoever, right? So,
and that's what they're afraid of.
They're terrified of that.
Yeah.
They can't.
That's why they're after the access codes to Zion. The mitochondria you're talking about.
The mitochondria, yeah.
Yeah. Access codes to Zion, I call it.
Okay. Yeah. But they can't. They don't have that knowledge. They think they do, but they don't, and they can't. And that's naturally, inherently part of our existence, and it's our connection to Mother Earth. It's our connection to nature. It's to do with our matriarchal lineages, and the mitochondria is handed down through the matriarchal lineage, not the patriarchal, and it is our natural connection to the earth, and they want to use that to sever. The only thing they've got that's somewhat working at the moment is LED lights and the technology that we're using, and the EMF. And EMR, electromagnetic radiation, as well. So that's having more an effect on the mitochondria than the inner technology. But they're doing their best, but they're falling short.
Yeah, and the only thing they really have is, first of all, it's one of their prime things for them to. One of the prime things that's important to expose about them is their psychology. I'm here to expose them. I'm here to expose them completely. I got attacked 10 days ago, and I can explain also what happened. I got major insights into their modus operandi, and it's been unbelievable decoding that level of information when it comes to psychology and attacks and virtual reality creation, or what the Gnostics in the ancient texts describe as hell, the prime capacity of archons, or the enemies of life, as Errol calls them, is basically that form of technology of creating virtual reality.
Yeah.
Now, you've got this environment going on here, and you've got what I describe is the original blueprint of the source, okay, the original reality. Then you've got a hack inside of that, which is the system, okay, a mind-based system that we mirror reflect in our experienced reality.
Yeah.
And within that, so you've got the original blueprint, a hack within that system, and within that system, you've got another hack going on.
Yeah.
And it's, I don't know when you can pick it off that theme, okay, but we can nail this about the whole corona crisis that we've been going through ever since the beginning of last year. It's a hack within a hack of the original reality,
I agree with
the
that.
source.
Yeah.
And what I can nail it down to is I apply mathematical principles and an understanding of the natural order, a natural law, or what you call LORE, law.
Mm.
And when they push the button with the corona, when we are absolutely precise, it's the activation of the hack within the hack, and it runs under criminal law. That's what it's based on. And that criminal law and the indoctrination that is the new normal creates that reality bubble. But just to explain the overview of what my role in all of this was with the notice of liability approach, from that understanding is, when I know it's a hack within the hack, I can't go directly from that criminal law that they're imposing with technocracy. Criminal law is, I make up what law is, and there's no consequences to what I'm implementing, although it's causing all the damage in the world.
Mm.
I can do whatever I want. There's no accountability. There's no liability. That is the true essence and simplicity of criminal law.
Mm.
The trick now is that from that hack within a hack reality, it goes way back, and it has to do with Bernays and the psychological programming, MK Ultra mind control.
Yeah.
In the long run of conditioning people to accept no accountability in government. That's the big problem we have.
Yeah, massive.
The world, that people just accept that and don't question it. I mean, what is going on? That's incredible.
No oversight, no question.
That really is incredible. So just to finish that point,
Consent.
through consent again. Exactly. So how to get out of that hack within a hack reality under criminal law? You can't go directly to the natural order and natural law, because that's too much for anyone to grasp. You have to put that into perspective. How can I connect the hack within the hack with the hack of the original reality, the next sort of layer, from one bubble to the next bubble, because that bubble people also understand.
Yeah.
And that is the understanding that this system we're running under is a copy of natural law, of the natural
it's a
order.
toxic mimic.
And is always and has always been and will always be for eternity contract based.
Yeah.
And then you look at the specifics and the key elements of a contract, which you can learn inside half an hour, and you just look it up. The insurance, consent, meeting of the mind. And then you ask the criminal, are you insured for a crime against humanity? If not, you're in deep trouble. And now you have to listen, because I'm explaining to you right now the system that you're actually operating on. And I know what you're doing. And I know there was a coup d'etat of technocracy throughout the entire world, and no one's talking about it. And that's why it came from China, because it's the most advanced in your AI takeover bid.
It's also their connection to the greys and to insect races behind the scenes.
Directly, it's coming from them. Yeah. Directly.
Yeah.
I mean, people view China as this separate entity, nothing to do with the rest of the world or the elite. No way. Russia's a big part of it too, all of them.
Massively. Yeah. The whole America thing is a big distraction from the real players, you see?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Russia's big in this.
Yeah. Yeah.
But nobody wants to speak about Russia, you know? Putin is portrayed as the good guy.
Yeah.
Going up against the evils of America. It's the same people.
Yeah. Absolutely. I wholeheartedly agree with that. Yeah.
And that's a key anchor point to point out to the enemies of life, you see, and transcending this whole paradigm. Because, for example, we stopped demonstrating, like, what was it, 2 months ago? Okay. We still go to our festival for freedom in Linz. That's different. It's a festival. Different. It's totally different. There's different energies. We've built up the energy momentum, but it's not going to good going to demonstrations in our point of view. We don't tell anyone what to do. But we've been retreating now and observing from the outside what happens.
Yeah.
So we've done the action, and the one thing that people forget about is when they do action is that they let go
and watch it work.
And watch that work. George, we can observe that with people that we're in contact with. They can't let go, George. And they, you know, the inevitable is when they don't get past that, you know, it's an addiction.
It is.
They can't get out of action.
They identify themselves. It's all of a sudden it's now their identity, because they don't have the wholesomeness within themselves, and that's what helps you step back, because you're not, because that persona, the identity is, and to use my languaging, we're talking the same things. I'm just using slightly different languaging. 2 webinars back on my monthly webinars, I laid it out about the natural field of consciousness and then the manufactured, and then the natural subconsciousness and the manufactured subconscious. And it's more detailed than that, but I just broke it down to those 4 base elements of fields of consciousness that we operate through. And most people spend most of their time in the manufactured field of consciousness. And the manufactured is through cultural narratives, you know, it's all externally influenced and created. It's an artificial, you know, like mind matrix or consciousness matrix, you know, and that was the one that you were talking about. And then the hack within the hack, you know, because it's in that artificial that is the general consensus reality for society. We call it status quo. And what they've done now is they've created a containment field in that space. The status quo is the containment field. It's not naturally organic, sustaining, self-sustaining, general consensus reality. It is manufactured, and it's rigid, and it's like made from steel rods, you know, consciousness that behaves like reinforcement rods in concrete. It is crazy the way it operates. And in that space is where they created that where they're trying to create an even further distortion. So they've hacked the natural, consciousness field by creating the manufactured, and in the manufactured now they're creating another manufactured, which is going even further away from our natural state. And it's just absolutely amazing to observe it. We're saying the same things, guys, just having slightly different languaging, and I just absolutely love speaking with you both because we're right in the pocket with this. It's just beautiful.
Yeah, that's how, without realizing, people are programmed through the hacks. So before they know it, they've got a hack after a hack after a hack running their minds.
That's right.
You know, but and
that's where the identity, they identify themselves through that manufactured field, not through the natural field.
Through the programmings, which can only take place and work on the mind.
Yeah.
It could never happen. You'll be aware of the hacks as they come in.
Yeah.
If you're aligned with the heart.
Yeah.
You see, if that's that's where your intelligence is coming from. Mm-hmm. You would recognize the hacks as they come through, and then you become unprogrammable.
There you go. Perfect. We are saying the same thing. Oh, it's amazing. Like all the people that, are into my work, and especially the people that have done my courses, they'll just be sitting back now going, are you kidding me? Like, this is this is unreal. I'll be like, yes.
Yeah, and that's when you can let go, you see. It's the most obvious thing looked at from a child's perspective. Mm-hmm. It's like, you've done the job, okay, and now you let go, relax. Yeah. But people forgotten how to party, people forgotten how to relax. It's crazy. But I can observe it, you see, with activists. And I'm telling them, just come round and we'll have a chat. They don't come round. And they are attracting all sorts of problems. And then trying to tell me, well, those people and those police problems and lawyers and all that will come to you too. Well, it's not come up to now.
No.
Why don't we talk about what has happened up to now? No one ever shows up at my door, and I'm talking openly about kicking out the mafia of this country, speaking directly to the enemies of life. Nothing happens to me.
Yeah. Well,
Why is that?
We're doing it now. When you speak, you're not just speaking to me or the listeners, you're speaking to them. I do the same in my webinars.
Always.
So we're having all these multifaceted, multi-dimensional conversations, you know. Like before when you had your fingers like that and you were speaking, I'm like, dude, he's not just speaking to me, and I could feel you speaking to them as well, and it felt really, really good.
All the time we're just in them, all the time. Now, I want to add something to these hacks, okay, regarding these hacks. See, when these hacks take place, okay, and people get engaged in these hacks, they become obsessed with the programs, and they can't withdraw back. The obsession gets deeper, which adds more power to the hack, and the hacks give out a frequency, a current, which has an energetic charge. So what happens is that charge becomes stronger the more a person gives its attention to it and gets captivated within the hack. And then what happens is the person begins to attract and draw all the negative things which come, which is relevant to the hack. So that's how they get in trouble, if that makes any sense.
100%.
It's like a loop, isn't it? Like a thought loop that feeds on itself.
Because they're identifying themselves through that persona. And that's the persona that's in the game, and it's in their game.
It goes into manifestation, basically.
Yeah. And it's also people that don't wear muzzles in the shops, for example. You see? They don't wear muzzles in the shops. They're the biggest warriors, you know, with us also. But they are still wearing the persona, which means mask, in a different form. The same problem.
Yeah.
That's the pseudo-randomness element to this reality, which is a beautiful expression I learned from David Icke. Pseudo-randomness and identifying the same programs and patterns within the psyche.
It's about vibration, man. It's if they can pull you down the frequencies, then they got you.
Yeah.
The further down the frequencies they pull you, they can easily get you. And then before you know it, you're in trouble, and I've got you. It's about keeping your frequency high. So you're resonating high. They can't touch you.
And how do you do that? For example, we were talking about these thought loops and hacks going on. It's like people always think, oh yeah, that's just my thought that's going on here, and it's really pulling me down, but it's still my thought. How do you know?
Yeah,
it's not.
Do you know what 5G technology really is?
One of the main things that I make a point of in all my courses and my teachings is, you know, if we don't take back control of our mind, somebody else will. If we don't control our mind, someone else will. And the issue is people are just allowing their minds just to unravel and just be without actually managing the state of their mind. And like this is the interface module here between our deeper conscious state, our heart, our soul, our spirit, our soul expression, and the way we interact with this reality. And whatever we put into this space here becomes the lenses that we see reality through. And that's why the media is playing such a big role, pouring, like pumping into this space, you know, a manufactured field to manufacture that false persona, that identity, to be that becomes the interface module that everybody's identifying themselves through. And I say to folks, hey, we have to bring our natural field of consciousness back into being by bringing all of our states of consciousness back into alignment with the heart, because it comes out, it actually pours out of here and comes up into this field space. And that's how we get our natural, authentic You know, if you want to call it identity, it's our natural, I just call it our soul expression. It's
State.
natural state of being.
Mm.
Yeah. And then that becomes the interface. And like you said earlier, Errol, the knowledge, the wisdom, the intelligence from the heart flowing into this space, that's the key, you know, as we turn inside out.
Because this is the decoding system, isn't it?
Yeah.
You see? So what's happening is they're in charge of that decoding system by externally influencing
Yes.
and putting in the information to be decoded to create that, so that this can create the reality they want for us. Okay. But if it was coming through here and being decoded through here, then it would be natural. And we would create the reality we want.
Yeah.
So, like you said, it's about freeing this, just getting rid of it. Free it, free your mind, clean slate, and just come into the heart. And then start again and see what happens.
And people are absolutely shocked when we go through the process of sitting still and observing, becoming an observer of your mind. So it's becoming aware of your awareness. So observing your awareness in action. So it's like taking a step back. So now we're operating into our multidimensional state more. So we take a step further back into ourselves and we observe the mind in action. And the shock that people, you know, are confronted with, because you begin to realize very quickly that over 90% of the thoughts you're having are not even yours. They're not willed on by your own will. That you're not operating from your own will. And then all of a sudden we're like, the realization we're these like automatons operating from instructions under the mind matrix, influencing our space and that false identity. And it is really shocking for a lot of people. They can't handle it. And a lot of people actually turn back and don't want to go through the process because they just can't handle that reality. When you move through that realization and that pain and gain that management of your mind space back and allow yourself to turn inside out, then all of a sudden your mind is operating in a particular way. It has a particular feel when they're your thoughts. It has a particular energy. It has a particular expression. And so once you gain management of your mind back, anytime another thought starts coming in, an injection from technology like a 5G or a Project Bluebeam or whatever it is, all of a sudden it's like, wow, where did that come from? That's not my thought. Why am I having this thought? And you are onto it instantly because it's like there's a disturbance in the force, Luke. You know, it's you really, really feel it.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and that's where I would like to emphasize again how protection works from dark forces, okay? If you're not under attack, you're not paying attention. It's a reality that we're under attack. And their prime directive is to influence the thought patterns. That's where they access it. So what they want to keep us in is in the electric level of reality, okay? This matrix is only based on the electrics. It's one upright pyramid, if you can take that symbol as an understanding. And we just went to a pyramid today, which we really want to talk about. Also, this flows into this information. We've got major material to share from our own direct experience, and it's massive what we have to share. So to delve into that, to flow over to what we had today, they want to keep us in the electric component. That's why they destroyed Tesla, and that's why they don't want anyone looking into this.
100%.
Because he was looking into the magnetics.
Yeah.
And when we can go back to what we talked about before, we've got activists who can't stop working, and they are drawing more and more problems into them because they can't let go. They can't just say, okay, I've done this and that action. This went really well. I got to know new people. And now actually I'm just going to come back to myself and withdraw. But you see, they're not doing it because they're afraid of pain. Because once you start relaxing, okay, and you activate the magnetics, or as I did a few weeks ago, is to focus on my heart. I suddenly had to realize that I don't let anyone really close to me. What a shock.
Yeah.
When I got to know Errol, I got to know Errol, and inside 5 minutes, I knew I could trust him, you know? I knew I could trust him. It's a knowing.
Yeah, yeah.
But what a shock I experienced 4 weeks ago when someone said to me, you don't let anyone close to your heart.
Yeah.
And I started reflecting, and it was such a shock. And I'm back with my 14-year-old self, who just goes out into the world, and that's how I came into the world. I want to have fun, you know, and you come out openly, and then you get to know a girl very naturally, and you've never been in this situation, make your experiences, and she breaks your heart.
Yeah.
And I'm back there, and this for me, my experience, the entire outer just fell apart. I have to look at this right now. What happened? Is that the reason why we are so messed up as a race? That we don't go back to that point? Where was my heart broken with a girl? And how do I bring it into the now and focus on that? And that's what I did. I activated the magnetics by just letting go of the action. And that came in. And for the especially last week, one day after the other, I looked at like deep layers of those programming, not wanting to look at it. Horrifying things, and things just coming up. But you can dissolve it by the very fact that you just be with yourself. It all has to do with the lack of self-love.
Yeah.
It all has to do with realizing what it really means to love yourself and to look at that. And what I realized in the interaction with a girl that I got to know a few weeks ago is, and that's one of the things where the demiurge really exposed himself and the workings of the archons, is they want you reacting to things that hurt you most, like rejection. But in a conversation that I had, for example, last Friday, I took a step back and I observed it, and I was decoding that actually through her, my shadow was speaking to me, and it's not actually her. She has some other issue going on, and that's what people forget, that the person and the human being we're interacting with is him or herself in a state of pain when you're in pain.
Yeah.
But you're getting your pain reflected because you're decoding it that way. And she gets her pain reflected because she's decoding it that way. And that's how I realized I didn't actually speak to her, but my shadow self was speaking to me. And that's how I could make peace.
Amazing. Yeah.
With it in that situation. Not reacting, just being with myself and just saying, okay, so the love of my life doesn't want me. All right. Can I still survive the next moment? Yeah, I have done. All right. And just breathe. And you let it go. And you pull in the magnetics, and we're still adventuring through what's really going on. I don't know. I don't have to know.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So yeah.
Yeah. Really
Activating the magnetics. It's a beautiful, playful thing. It's like cats. Cats don't give you a straight answer. They play with you. And that's something which is also a theme that we did today in the external world, in our experienced reality. So this has to do with oneself, love. Inside the self, what is it outside the self? And what does it have to do with pyramids? So
good segue.
I'd like to give it over to Errol to sort of walk us through what's happened today.
What happened today? Well, what's been happening for a few days for you, and since yesterday for me. Steve basically, well, we attracted a couple of good people into a new good couple of people into our lives, and they were magnetically drawn because of the work we do and what we do and everything. So Steve had the first connection, Actually, we had the connection together, but I couldn't stick around for too long. I had to leave. So Steve had a longer connection. And yesterday, finally, they came. Surprisingly, they turned up at where I'm staying to pick me up, to take me 3 hours away from where I was staying into the Alps.
We kidnapped him.
Yeah, they kidnapped me. But the excuse was, the way they convinced me to come with them was, Errol, we have found one of the most important pyramids in Austria.
Ooh. I didn't even know there were pyramids in Austria.
Exactly. Exactly. You see, they like to focus our attention onto pyramids of Egypt and the pyramid in Bosnia and other places, but nobody wants to talk about the pyramids in Austria.
Or in other places.
Or in other places, which are just as significant, very powerful also. And most of these pyramids here in Austria are hidden. You don't even know they're pyramids. So basically, they kidnapped me yesterday from my house and they told me why. So I decided I've got to come too. They told me we're going to go to a pyramid and we need to activate it. And when they said that to me, I froze, because an experience which I experienced in the spiritual realm came to my mind when I activated a pyramid in the spiritual realm. And I would love the Archons to listen to this because they can't forget about this. I activated the pyramid, okay, in the spiritual realm.
Yeah.
And I called up on all the light forces for protection and assistance, because I went into their realm and activated the pyramid. And the way I did it was through my portal, which is the heart. I aligned it with the pyramid in the realm which I was in, which was under reptilian Archon control. But the way it happened was they pulled me into that realm through my heart, whatever they were thinking. But my heart got activated, and so did that pyramid. And then it was a split-second thing, and then I came back into my consciousness in this realm within my body. And I called up on all the light forces, and eventually the light forces showed up, and I became conscious on one of the motherships out of many.
Wow.
Out of many. And they were referring to me as master, and they were surprised to see me. And when they realized I was there, they were telling me, Master, what are you doing here? You need to go back, please. You need to go back. You're not supposed to be here. But all I can see is out of the ship, many other ships. It was a fleet which belonged to us, the light forces,
your people,
surrounding in the sky, surrounding a giant pyramid with the Archons running for their lives. And then I said to them, I was here just now. Where is this place? And they were saying to me, Master, please, it's not time yet. You need to go back. It's too soon. I was saying, I know, I understand, but I was here just now. I activated, this is a porthole. I activated this porthole. I want to know where it is. I want to know now. Master, please, you need to go back. And eventually they took me back and strapped me into the bed, and I lost consciousness on the ship, and I came back into my body.
Wow.
So I activated something somewhere big.
Yeah.
And since then, something big has been taking place. it's an energetic battle for the energy points of the earth.
Mm-hmm.
And the light forces are taking over again.
Mm.
So when they came to pick me up from the house and they told me that we're going to activate a pyramid, I went like this. My reaction was,
yeah, right.
fuck. I was like, no. I already did this in the spirit. Now is it really time now that I do it in the physical?
Mm.
And it hit me. Then I'm like,
yeah,
of course.
Yeah, because it ripples from out there and it spills into the physical domain, doesn't it?
Yeah. And I was like, of course, I'm a high commander of a force of the high source.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Master Kaya. That's what I'm here to do.
Mm.
So without question, I got ready and I jumped into the car with them without even knowing where I was going. And we ended up somewhere in the Alps. All of a sudden it starts snowing, and now we're somewhere called Sankt Corona.
Mm-hmm.
Corona, the crown.
The crown, yeah.
And today we went to the pyramid and we did a nice activation. And when I put my hand on it, I felt the power of the pyramid.
Yeah, wow.
There was some good energy, good power coming from it.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And we've activated it with a command and instructions to the light forces to come in and flush the light forces out, because that's what happens.
Yeah.
So now I believe that we're going to see big chaos taking place within the system and a big crumbling process, a demolition process of the control system, especially here in Austria now, and then eventually it will spread and we'll see it everywhere.
Yeah.
But I believe once you activate one of these pyramids, okay, they're all connected. It happens with the rest as well. That's what I really think.
For context to all of this, so I've got a story that picks up about 5 days ago. This is first-hand information. 6 days, actually. It was Wednesday last week. So, as I said before, they interfere with Errol's dreams for a reason.
Yep.
Because they know the future perspective. That's what they're most afraid of. They're already in absolute hysterics, going crazy what happened in the past, but what is happening in the future. You see, it builds up, the energy momentum builds up, and so does the level of action.
Mm-hmm.
So what we did is we went to Vienna with, how shall I explain this? With a woman that I'm getting to know closer. So there's a common theme here going on now with the experience that I shared before. To put it into psychological terms, I would say she's the anima to my animus.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you an example. So on Thursday, I washed my energy stones for the first time since months in Vienna, because I've been going back and forth. I didn't think of it. So I'm like, I wake up in the morning, I'm like, hey, sunshine. All right, I can wash and put it into the sun because I load my stones up in the sun. Well, that relates to me because I'm the element of fire. Okay. I go for them and I see what happens afterward. I never think when I take action. I just do it. That's the fire, which is very strong in me. And she, on the same day, washes her stones in the water and loads them up with water at the same day. Those sorts of things, like synchronicities, very interesting.
Oh,
what I want to point out is the build-up to our activation that happened today at a very specific pyramid. We don't know how many pyramids there are in Austria. I would go as far as to say that we have absolutely zero clues how many pyramids there are in the world or anywhere. Can we just admit that we just don't know?
Yeah.
And that's always the level from where I'm coming from. I need to find out because it's important. It's most definitely very, very important. So we arrive in Vienna on Wednesday, and we walk into my flat. There's a guy in front of my flat. His name's Victor, a good friend of ours. And we go into the flat, and straight away we see the thunder starts. Thunder and lightning. Not very, very frightening, but interesting. So we go into the flat and we see a hawk outside my flat, sitting there, watching us in Vienna. A hawk.
A hawk in Vienna.
I've never seen that before. All right, what's going on here? And we've just arrived in the flat. You see, this is what I'm speaking about here is what happened inside the first 10 minutes. Then I have a pyramid from the Bosnian pyramids where I went in 2019. I have a pyramid at home. Orgonite pyramid with shungite in it. It's a beautiful pyramid. And it's important to mention the structures. It's a pyramid, okay? It's about this high, okay? About this high. And it has a downward pyramid inside of it.
Okay.
The electric and the magnetic component, okay, which puts everything into balance. So Kimberly, okay, this woman that I got to know, puts the pyramid into her hands, as innocent as she is, just takes it in the hands. The guy who's with us, Victor, who used to work in the military, was a high officer, also sniper. A minute later, gets a phone call from one of the people he knows in the military. All the electricity is out throughout Austria in all military facilities.
Wow.
Military facilities.
Facilities. This is first-hand information. I'm not speculating.
Wow. I've gone all over my body. I'm just lit up and all goosey. Wow.
And this is the sort of thing when you combine an overview of key elements that involve all of this. I mean, I could do a whole interview just about this one story and put it into perspective. So you've got energy momentum going on since May. You're building up the energy. You do the work, whatever comes to you synchronistically, directed by the force, directly assisted by an amazing alliance, huge in scope. They don't want us to know about it. The ancestors, the support, the protection, the guidance, and the honor and the full commitment to the job. So you've got people like me and Errol. We don't earn a penny. We just about get over 1 month after the other, and we live like brothers. We just share. That's what we do just now, because the job is the most important. And that energy dynamics suddenly comes together. And you've got this pyramid as a representation and a female that I trust.
Yeah.
And there was other action before that, which happened to that, which I trust. And she puts that pyramid in her hand and something happens. And then a week afterward, this is the microscopic version. A week afterward, we go to the pyramid in, what's it called again? Grimmenstein. The pyramid in Grimmenstein, which is said to be bigger than the Bosnian pyramid.
Whoa.
Larger than the Bosnian pyramid.
It's hidden.
So we're not talking about any pyramid here. And we get drawn there to do a job. And I felt it also, like on Sunday, things are just building up. And I felt it like something's about to really shift and happen. And then the pyramid comes up and I'm like, oh, wow, of course. And it was the most beautiful ceremony I've ever done. It was short. There was snow out there. We're in April here. Massive amounts of snow and wind. It was really mystical. And we do a high command. We keep it simple, just pure intention. And we commanded all evil to leave this land. You've served your purpose toward evolution in form of the involutionary force, which is the other coin of the dark force. You respect them in their
Yeah.
In their manifestation of existence, which is very important in my book.
Their domains.
To respect that. To respect that. And but to tell them very pointedly to leave this space. And according to the timing of the one and only highest source that I serve, you have to leave this planet. And if it is now, it is now. And very clear and pointed. And my feeling of all of that is we hit the absolute bullseye. And from this point, we do not know what is going to happen. All we know is that we've been doing the right things, and we're doing exactly the things that are needed to take a whole country back.
Yeah.
With very few people, but when you look at the whole pyramid as an information pyramid, according to the information that we're putting into action and using as an authority, this is the level of impact that is also then reflected in the world. And as we see it, we maneuver ourselves through our action, through taking responsibility as high commanders. We maneuver ourselves as the peak of the pyramid of this country. And we're in command, we're in charge, and they'll come to us magnetically because it is what it is.
All we know is, George, that we've activated something big today. And I can't exactly say what the outcome is going to be, because I only know what I need to know when I need to know. So we've done the action, and we're just going to chill on it and just let it work. And I trust that it's big. I know inside it's big.
That's what I also feel. And that's the only thing that counts, you see? Because that's why I don't have a phone, George. Okay? I smashed mine after the demiurge attacked me last Saturday. That was also, so we've got the Wednesday I just mentioned, the Saturday before that, biggest attack of my life.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing about that.
Demiurge.
If you want to share.
Directly. He knows what's going down.
Yeah.
And that was the fiercest attack I've ever experienced. And he's exposed the workings of his hack like in no way I've ever seen before.
Yeah.
And I don't have a phone right now, and I feel great, because if I were to get in contact now with the outside world that is not part of what we just did, you expect attacks like nothing you've seen before by the collective. That's why I'm keeping the peace. I'm just hanging out with Errol and the other guys, and hopefully some women.
Exactly.
Yeah. We need the women.
Yeah, well, we do the work, the women come.
Yeah.
Well, it's the balance, and it's their world, and this was what I'm greatly honoured and privileged to have some incredible woman friend, and they are so powerful, and we're working together, and I have agreements with the ones that I work the closest with, and the agreements that we have in place is they're going to make me aware of me and they share with me what it's like to be on the receiving end of me, in my expressions, in the way I speak, and in the way I treat them. And it is just absolutely fantastic and I've done that with my male friends as well. So, or my bros, and having that, I talked about it in last month's webinar last week, and it's something that it's kind of like, what do friendships look like moving forward in the new reality that we're creating? And so it's like we're entering into co-creative agreements, right? Where it's very natural, and we say to each other, hey, if I'm being too arrogant, can you pull me up on that and let me know when I'm being too arrogant? If I'm being too controlling, can you pull me up on that and say it to me, pull me aside, let's have the talk. And what we're doing is we're realizing is that we're providing the medicine for one another. We are the medicine for one another now. So not only are we entering into a co-creative process, we're entering into a co-healing process where we provide medicine for one another. And the two go hand in hand. And it's a gorgeous, gorgeous, way to be able to be vulnerable, to be willing to listen. And when somebody's sharing about an issue that they have with you, then they also get to see, when they're sharing the issue, what's actually yours and what's theirs, if they're over projecting and are they speaking through a wound. And this, what this is doing is creating a really strong bond and foundation for the new realities we're creating moving forward. And that's that love that's between us all, and it strengthens the work that we're here to do. So when we are facing entities attacking us, we can speak to each other, we can call upon one another. We also, in that space, straight away, we can just think of a friend or think of someone else, and we don't have to even call on forces out there. We can call on one another here as well, because we're having a multidimensional experience with other beings. So there's this multidimensional force of love and this force of nature. So it's working in our favor to do that as well. It's a different approach than what we've been used to, because a lot of people aren't normally used to someone else calling them out on their behavior on a natural and regular basis, but we're doing it. And that's changing the way we're creating and co-creating together. It's changing the dynamic. And then the same goes with Mother Earth and with nature. And, sometimes I'll look at a bird and the bird is, behaving inappropriately by swooping down at me. And I go, like, are you taking something from my field? And then sometimes, like, no, the bird is just being really territorial. It's frightened of my energy. And it's like, well, can you please stop being so fearful and don't be such a bully? Do you know what I mean? So you end up calling out nature as well, because you've got that degree of conscious relationship happening, because they're sorting themselves out as well. They've got similar behavioral issues as well because of the distortion in the field of nature.
Wow, that's a beautiful thing to pick up on. And so I became aware of this subject also because we're sort of living in this bubble, experiencing it. Yeah. We're seeing our reflections. Okay, where's our projection? Where's someone else projecting? Very important to ask these questions.
Yeah.
But as we are in this bubble, I realized this when we did a ceremony at Untersberg, that we did a ceremony with magic mushrooms there, the Untersberg in Salzburg represents the heart chakra of Europe. And I felt through the ceremony that we were doing, we were basically just talking truth on a continuous basis and having realizations. And what I felt, and I spoke this out clearly, I feel the bubble of the mountain bursting. The mountain was starting to remember. It was closed up to this point. You see? And that's absolutely incredible to experience. And we have this throughout nature and this experienced reality that it's contained. And we're here to actualize each other. Also nature.
Yes.
And that's a beautiful thing to come to realization to.
Yeah. Oh, it's massive.
Have you experienced that, for example, with the experience with a healing plant, where you saw how happy it was?
For sure. Especially with the peyote. Yeah. My experience with the peyote, I can talk about my experience just for an example, how it works. When I come into contact with it in 2017, for the first time in this lifetime, which I have done in past lifetimes as well, but for the first time in this lifetime, it was so happy to see me again. And it basically rejoiced and said to me, I'm glad you're here, because look at what these bastards are using me for. Witchcraft and brew, all this stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you're finally here again.
Yeah. Because that being is coming across someone that actually respects it and knows how to work with it. And field of love and honesty. And it's the same like with my friends, that we create the field between us. So we're creating a new, I talked about the different fields of consciousness before. We're coming back to the natural, and we create that field. So we do it with ourselves, our loved ones around us, our friends, our colleagues, and we're doing it with nature. And this is the new field of energy, the new reality that is being created. And it has love, it has honesty, it has integrity, it has all these different qualities. And the more we create this between us, between ourselves, that bond, like you and Errol have, or Steve, you and Errol, you have with Steve, and the people that you have around you there, and I have with my community here, you know. So even though you called it a bubble, it's a field between you all, and what you're doing is creating the parameters of functionality of that reality which you are co-creating. Yeah. So it's like you're, as prime creators of that field of energy and that field of reality, you are owning it and exercising your natural authority and saying, whoever comes into this space, this is the field and this is how it is. And, you know, that field cannot be corrupted, because there is a group of prime creator beings coming back to natural law, and you have this field between you all, and other energies can't come in. And we've seen other people try to come into our field, and they don't last very long if they're not willing to open up, be vulnerable, face what they need to face about themselves. Not that we go picking on anybody, but the field just brings stuff out, you know? And that's why we provide the medicine for one another. And that's why, you know, sometimes we do get the calling to do some other types of medicine as well, to work with nature and to do maybe the odd plant medicine. So it's a very, very powerful field. I mean, you know, people are doing plant medicine all the time. They drink coffee. They just, you know, they have a cup of chamomile tea before they go to bed to relax themselves. That's plant medicine. So people are doing, every day of their lives are doing plant medicine. They just don't realize it. So we're all participating in these shamanic processes. And it's just whether we're going to do it consciously or we're going to remain unconscious to the process, you know? You know, actively engaging in conscious relationship with nature and reality and with one another. And that's what I love about this, because when we do have this field or this new reality, and we are now walking between the worlds, we're in that new field that's being created, which is part of the new reality, because it's the new version of us that's emerging, which is now creating this new field, which is part of the new reality. You see how it works, right? And then we're still got another foot in the old world, and we're walking between the worlds. But slowly, we're bringing most of our being into the new. And what's happening now is we choose when we're going to go back into the old matrix system and engage in it. But our everyday ecosystem environment is now the new field, the new paradigm.
Yeah, because we're just becoming more aware now.
Yeah.
So the more aware we become, we're becoming aware of how we interact with everything.
Yeah.
Within the physical and within the non-physical, and with our relationships with the plants, like you just mentioned, and everything. Within our relationship within animals and other people, we're just becoming more and more aware.
Absolutely. Conscious.
And this is causing more collaboration. It's making us more collaborative.
This
and
is
more supportive of each other.
This is what's been prophesied as the separation of consciousness. You know, that split.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and how the new world is emerging and the new world that's being created.
It's like the mitosis of a cell, isn't it?
Yes.
The newborn, the new cell separates from the old cell, and the old cell dies away. Mm-hmm. Just like the snake shedding its skin, or the tarantula shedding its skin as well, molting.
Yeah, and going back to the core questions also, you see this, the prime problem that I see is not that people are not informed or misinformed. Well, we know that, but how far does the misinformation go? Well, I'd go as far as saying that if you're not considering the nature of the reality that you're experiencing, and working with that,
Yeah.
then you're not on the track.
Right
You
on
see, and
it.
that's
Yeah.
where I see the
100%.
importance of focusing on this together to help humanity, you know, ask prime questions again. What is reality? And how is my interaction with relationships? Maybe this whole command and control pyramid is completely artificial and doesn't serve me anymore. What is my relationships? Can I build up from that and start looking at it like that again and work from there? It's like, yeah, just be honest with yourself. It's the prime thing.
Yeah.
And I'm sharing this that 4 weeks ago. I'm gobsmacked at hearing you don't let anyone close to you. Gobsmacked.
Yeah.
It was so deep in the unconscious.
Yeah.
You know, that's honest with you. And I only got that through a trigger point, someone telling me,
Yeah.
scaring me. And that's a big healing.
And that again is how we're providing medicine for one another.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
We really are. We really are. Yeah.
We are the medicine.
Pardon?
We are the medicine.
We are the medicine. We are the remedy. What's deep inside of ourselves, and nature is the remedy, the true essence of nature. And I say to people, if we are going to create, and this is what I've been doing, and I'm getting to the point where I have to relocate again, is because where I am on this planet has to do with my relationship with the planet. So it's like if we are like acupuncture needles, because we're transducers of energy coming out, emanating, energy coming in, all right? So we've got all these directional flows of energy, which means like if you put an acupuncture needle on the body and you put it in the right spot where the energy is going to flow, you put it in the wrong spot. Well, what's that going to create? It's going to create problems, isn't it? Dis-ease. It's not going to flow. It's going to create disruption in the flow, okay? And it's the same with us. If we have this conscious relationship with Mother Earth and we realize that we're like acupuncture needles, transducers of energy, if we are not in the appropriate location on her body, we are not going to be in that state of flow. Things are not going to flow properly. So when you find in the dialogue, in the relationship, in the dialogue I have with my mother planet, with Mother Earth, in that unified field, I feel where I need to be on her body. And this is how I've been living in the last, I'm going to say 6 years of my life. And I've been entering into spaces where all of a sudden I enter in this deep crucible of change. And then I'll move from there and enter into another space, and all of a sudden my creative process just launches, just takes off, right? And it's like, what is the theme going to be? What's the lore, L-O-R-E, lore of the land where you occupy? So really remembering our indigenous heritage and our relationship with, like the Aborigines here call our relationship to country, which means to the land and to nature. You understand that if you are living in a valley, you're not going to have a creative process that's going to take off and launch, because a valley is a crucible. It's all about churning the inner work, right? If you're going to live up on top of a hill, well, that's where you become a beacon. That's where your energy goes out and broadcasts, right? If you're on a flat, then that's where the energy is going to be lateral. You're going to go out in a lateral way. It's like really understanding the terrain, the lay of the land, and the lore of the land. And every mountain has a theme. Every mountain has a personality. The mountain here is the wounded warrior that I live really close to, you know, and the work that I've done here on that part of me since I've moved into this area has been epic. And now it's time to move on. The mountain speaks to me and says, our work is done here, George, because it's conscious relationship with that being, with that entity, you know. So when we are in that space of being in an appropriate location, you're going to thrive, because your creative process is being supported. It's being supported by the foundation of your existence in this world, which is our relationship with our mother planet. Like, that relationship is why each of us exists in this reality. We have a soul level agreement with the being who is this planet to come onto her planetary body and have an incarnation as a human being. That is the foundation for our existence in this world. All indigenous peoples have been trying to remind us of that. Then from there, it's like, what is our relationship now on the surface level, through the identity, through the persona, through the incarnational construct, into the 3D physical realm. Our relationship with the ecosystems like the trees, the animals, the birds, the aquatics, the whatever, and the mineral realm, of course, and understanding, that structure, because if you are in that sweet spot, reality responds, nature responds, and all of a sudden you'll be supported. Mother Earth gets excited because she's like if someone really well touches you in the right way on the right part of your body, how does that make you feel? It feels good, doesn't it? And you respond in kind, yeah? So does Mother Earth. You get to that right spot on her body, and you guys are doing it. You're already doing it. You know where you need to be. You know why you need to be. Well, sometimes the mystery unfolds, and then we realize why we are where we are. But the energies support us, and all of a sudden we thrive. Our creative process thrives. We don't have to, it's not laborious. We don't have to suffer. There's no more suffering. It's all about ease and grace. Efficiency in the creative process becomes very prevalent. And there's a major conspiracy that takes place because nature responds, and I see people, and they're not aware, but they're part of the conspiracy. Their greater being has got them coming into my life to support me in my creative process. And all of a sudden, there's this whole rearranging of reality working in my favor to achieve my creative process. And it's freaking amazing to observe and to be a part of that flow, that unfoldment. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, because we're that acupuncture needle, which is the activation key. Yeah. We are the activation key of the land.
Yeah.
And also sorry, you wanted to?
No.
What I wanted to add here is, again, the suffering is the optional element. It needs to be clearly stated. This is so important because I went through 10 years of my life suffering, and that was important for me because I got it's sort of like maybe the suffering is maybe you need it for that long. I needed it for that long. The suffering is sort of like you dig in deeper. Okay, that's where you can dig even deeper and deeper and deeper. But the suffering is optional at a point. How long do you want to keep digging? Don't keep doing. Go and realize that the pain is what happens. Can we deal with that pain? And I've been learning this the last few weeks, dealing with my love life. Rejection. No, I don't want you. And I'm like, oh, yeah, cool. And everything changes because I'm cool with it. You see? It's not that. It changes. Yeah. Don't take things at a surface level. There's something wanting to happen for you, and it has to stay magical. Otherwise, it's not life. It's not life force dancing for you. And the pain is the birth process. Okay, we're being born anew. That's the pain. But we only call it pain and define it as such and use words like emotions because we've been desensitized from emotions, because the archons say we're sense offenders when we feel any emotion, because they can't deal with power, real power in this world. That's through the energy in motion.
It's what makes us humane beings is emotion, energy in motion.
That's our power.
When our consciousness moves, when it flows, that is the energy in motion. That is emotion. And the pain is a beautiful messenger. It actually has a message for us. And we get that message and work with the information that comes with the pain. We embrace the pain. We alchemize it. We move through the pain. And then that pain is no longer required in our lives. It actually just dissolves.
Yeah. The message is let it flow.
Yeah.
Let the emotion flow.
Stop interpreting it as it comes.
Yeah.
Don't have to know it. That's what the psychoanalysis doesn't want you to know, is that you don't have to know what it is.
Yeah.
You have to feel it.
Yeah.
And slay it instantly. I learned this the last weeks. You can slay the emotion and it's over. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's powerful. Our ability to hold emotion, the range of emotion. It's like no other race, no other species can hold the range that we can.
Yeah, that's our power.
That's a lot of energy. That's a lot of energy.
And you merge with the realm. Your joy becomes the wind. Your tears. And I had times where the only thing I could do for months is cry with Mother Nature because I didn't want to meet anyone. That was good at that time.
Yeah.
The tears of water, the earth and the trembling of the earth when two plates meet, two fields meet, the trembling of the earthquake, the earth as the fear. And you merge with that realm through those emotions.
Wow. Yeah, amazing. Hey, I want to ask you the question, when do you see, or where do you see, and how do you see this moving now in relation to, you serve that notice of liability, where is that, what's it looking like is what I'm trying to say, is what direction is it heading in? Because you just had you had another minister just resign.
Yeah, exactly. That happened today. It's due to the energetics of what we did today. Also, it happens before, and go and look what happens after, and then ask yourself the question directly to the enemy. You see what happens, Larry? You see what happens, Larry? When you try, okay, this is a threat display. I'm not kidding here either. This is what repels them. You see, no one touches me and I can have my freedom and my peace, because that magnetic threat display, my magnetism, my emotion in full force directed outside, is what repels them. No one comes close to me. And we have the information that the president is residing in a bunker. Since we have the information a month ago that he's been there for months now. No one knows where he is. This is the common theme, that you talk to people that you don't even know. They're like, where's the president? What's happened to him?
In a bunker in South Austria in Tyrol.
Yeah.
So they locked down Tyrol. Well, that's what the word is on the street, but is it really locked down?
We don't. There's so many bluffs also happening. Like it's they've lost full control over Austria.
And so,
for example,
who's the health? Is it the health minister that recently resigned? And
yeah, exactly. Today he resigned today, and watch the others.
That's a really big deal.
Absolutely, it's breaking through. Source energy is coming through. We've got major scandals, one after the other, happening here. They're
doing it with the prime minister as well now.
They're doing it with the prime minister implicated in, like, his closest was just found out there was a secret investigation, apparently from the highest courts in Austria, and they found his mobile phone. They investigated it, took it in. He deleted all the information, but they could reproduce it. And what they found was 2,500 dicks. So the perversion is coming up. This is the closest to the prime minister. I mean, and that was just on Sunday. Okay, things are happening on a daily basis here right now. Massive scandal, and they call it hashtag Dickgate here in this country. This is what's going on. It's like the whole veil is being peeled down, and people are like, what the hell is going? Can you see it now?
Yeah, that's why they're pumping out so much fear, because they're hoping that the people will buy into the fear and help create the fear, which is like the fence and the screen hiding what's really going on and what they're really up to. But it's having some impact, but then it just wanes again. And it's like, it's not having the hold that they would like it to have.
Their tactics are not sustainable anymore.
No.
They're very finite, short lifespan,
Yeah.
and they run out of tricks.
And it's just a matter of time, you see, and it's going very quick now, really, in this country. And what's being revealed is that the notice of liability, you need something that powers it. Okay, it is a document, and it's working on the energetic level. So after 2 weeks of not replying, they're in tacit agreement and they're tied to you energetically. They're bonded.
Right.
And who's in charge of that bonding? Or the one who takes action, not the one who's residing in some illusion that he has to tell himself every day. Because those people, we have to realize, those politicians, they are deeply into cocaine. They have to sustain this artificial reality construct. They're looking the other way. But what's happening, just to give you an example of the level of impact and where we stand, I have a direct contract relationship with the Interior Minister, who's the head of the police. His name is Niham. Wrote to him per email, okay, I've got the signature, got all the documentation. That is a contract, just by my signature. Not responded after 14 days. I told him that if he were to take me into custody or you know, take me out at a demonstration because I'm dangerous or whatever, terrorist, frame me, whatever, it will cost him 369 million euros per hour. Since then, I did this on the 4th of March, 2021. Since then, the police don't come close to me. Before, they were controlling me. Where's your mask? There's your fine and all that. They don't control anymore.
Me neither.
It's just over, and we're just waiting for the precipitation to take place, basically, because we've done all the work. And me also, just to throw that in at the end, I'm moving flats too. So I'm being asked to move somewhere else. I don't know where, but I'm staying in trust mode. So this is coming to an end. And what it means is we've taken the entire country back. And everyone's working for us because of the nature that we're the capstone of the information pyramid that reflects into experienced reality command and control structure. Because it depends on who gives the command. And we're not controllers. You see, that has much more power with trust in humanity.
It does. And, you know, that's the same for me. I operate in my relationship with Mother Earth. I mean, I'm flowing in that conscious co-creative relationship. And I feel that is where it's like, how can we come here to this world and implement something without asking her permission or working with her consciously? It's like imposing upon another being. You know what I mean? And but in working in that conscious co-creative relationship with Mother Earth, all of a sudden it's a shift and your ecosystem changes, and all of a sudden it responds. Reality responds. Reality speaks. If I use an example here, I did a course recently, which is my 5-day retreat, and we did it in what's called the Glasshouse Mountains here, which is a really powerful family constellation of mountains. The law of the land there is super powerful, and my course content and the law of the land there just dovetails so beautifully. It's a lot of people feel it, and especially the custodians of the land there, they really feel it and love me going there and holding these courses. And so I was doing drumming. I've got, I was in a 14-hour ceremony making my own drum, and I've got my beautiful deerskin drum that I like to use. And so I felt compelled at the equinox to do a drumming ceremony in this beautiful large stone circle they have there, a medicine wheel circle. And I was doing the ceremony in conjunction with a lady who's a custodian of the land. She opened the ceremony playing this beautiful harp that she has, and then I stepped in and started doing the ceremony I was called to do by my ancient shamanic roots and American Indian energy that came through as well. And even though it was here on the Australian land, it was a really beautiful conglomeration of Indigenous peoples' energy from incarnations that I had as Indigenous peoples going way back. and all these lifetimes coming together, and together we're creating this ceremony. And so it was very calm, still day, no movement in the air at all. Clouds started, you know, it was a cloudy day, but nothing, no rain, no wind, nothing, just the stillness. And it was towards the end of the day, because the peak of the equinox was going to be at 7:30 at night, and we'd done the day's course material, and I said, okay, 4:30 in the afternoon, let's do a drumming ceremony. And got everybody to stand around the circle and started doing the drumming, and I was doing it in a way where I was honoring the elements, and then I went into the fifth element, and I was really doing an activation type of drumming beat. After drumming each element has its own drum beat, and all of a sudden, because it's on 10 acres and these massive it's tree lined all around, the tops of the trees just started going crazy, like really crazy, bending, blowing like that. And then I started doing a war cry of the elements to really start activating the elements. And it was kind of like asking, like in the movie Avatar, like, come on, to calling out to nature, you got to help us out here. We need to work together. There's got to be a working with the elements here. And then I started the war cry drum beat. Next thing, it starts raining, right?
Wow.
And next thing, the warrior spirit, which is, I don't know if you know, kangaroos are warriors, right? It's a warrior spirit. This huge red kangaroo as tall as me starts coming. And, you know, because they're huge, like they're solid muscle animals, unbelievable. And it came hopping up towards the circle and was really called and really piercing eyes and looking at what everybody was doing there and what we were doing there. And then when I finished the ceremony, the kangaroo hopped away, the rain stopped and the wind stopped. As soon as I finished the ceremony.
The land is listening.
Wow.
So
the land is responding. Mm-hmm.
It is nature, and it might sound like I'm bragging, but I'm trying to explain here that this is a conscious relationship. We are in dialogue with nature. And if we do have this conscious relationship, nature responds, she speaks back. And it's just
stronger.
It's just conscious relationship, and it's respectful, and it's working together. You know what I mean? And these are the things, this is how it happens, you know, and it's visceral, and lots of people were there to witness it.
That relationship gets deeper and stronger as well as it goes on.
Yeah.
It gets stronger and stronger.
Yeah.
And also, sorry.
Can I just, you guys mind if I just go back to this Nehammer
Yeah,
guy?
just one moment. Before you do that, I just want to finish off. This dialogue that I had, that we saw, that we were bearing witness to with nature, because I've had a lot of these things happen in many different ways. This is the language of love with nature, and it will become more normal for all of us. I just wanted to finish with that. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. That will be the new normal.
Our new normal.
Yeah. In symbiosis with nature.
Yep.
Just like the rest of nature is already anyway.
Yeah.
We're once again going to be a part of that. And it's going to get stronger and stronger and better with all beings working together.
Yeah.
In understanding, pure understanding. Yeah, absolutely.
Can you go back to the Nehammer? Who is Nehammer?
Nehammer, which Steve was referring to, the inner minister of Austria, which he also sent a notice to. The archons once again set up an illusion scenario in my dream, using the inner minister to manipulate my dream. And once again, it was them. It wasn't him. They were just using him to get my consent.
Yeah.
Because they know where this is going. We're going to be face to face with these guys soon, and they're trying so hard for that not to happen, because they have to get our consent to go ahead with what they're doing. Isn't that right, Steve? Yeah. And we've come to a stage now where they're going to have to pull us in to talk to us, and they don't know what to say, because they're going to want to make a deal with us, and they know that we don't do deals. You know, we take everything. We take the whole planet back. So they're looking for ways to manipulate, which isn't working, but they're going to have to pull us in anyway. So let's see how that plays out.
And this is what we're working on right now, as you're asking where this is going. So it's important to have a diagnosis, okay, in holistic dia through gnosis. The nature of the problem is the best way to find a solution. Remove the cause of the problem and the problem ceases to exist. The problem is not any politician. It's got nothing to do with the royal bloodlines or the family. The problem is a mindset. It is a mindset. Whose mind is the enemies of life? And we know the nature of this mindset. So what I mean by this is you transcend all of the traps that you can fall into. And what I've come to realize is that me and Errol and everyone here on a high level of consciousness, we think 180 degrees always opposite to what any collective says. So people are out protesting now against the politicians. Then you've got the media responding also. They're talking about corruption. Like people in the establishment talking about the high level corruption that's going on in this country. This is a given right now. They're doing this openly. You see, the thing is that they're trying to dodge the root cause of the problem. You see, they don't want to go into the international sphere, okay, the internationally operating mafia structure that has to leave this country. This is what my focus is, okay? And what we are doing here in this country now is everyone's against the politicians on the streets, in the demonstrations, so we're having none of it. We're doing something different, always. As Leonardo da Vinci said, always do something different. And other people copy that. Do something different. What we're doing is we form alliance with the entire human family of this country. Everyone is in on it. No one excluded unless they exclude themselves. Alliance with the politicians, alliance with the police, alliance with the military, alliance with all the institutions. Every single one is invited. We speak together. I don't want Nuremberg trials. I don't want that. I'm a human being who has a heart and can speak and can find solutions. So that's what they're most afraid of, the enemies of life, because we're seeing through the veil. We're seeing through the illusion, because you otherwise repeat history again through the nature of the suffering. You resolve it through forgiveness and closure. So that's why we're being pulled in. And the nature of why we're being pulled in is due to the peak of the pyramid of information that we have and integrated in our being, and the symbiosis nature of how we deal with our relationships with everyone. And we're no victim of anyone's crimes. We're here to resolve the crime, which has its origin in a wrong mindset.
Wow. That's fantastic. Open dialogue with all parties, and let's sit around the table. And I love the way you said, I am a human being with a heart and I can create solutions. I know how to talk about solutions. And I think that's absolutely beautiful, because unfortunately the Nuremberg court has now proven itself to have fallen to the corruption with the decision it has made of late regarding the experimental injections. So, I think that it's useless now. It's not for humanity. It is for the agenda. So that, to me, the people who made that decision in that court have now proven themselves that they are corrupted, they have been co-opted, and they are now working against humanity and not for humanity. Because to reverse a decision that was put in place, which was a humane decision to begin with, after the Germany and the trials, that for someone to reverse that is a psychopathic tendency. That is a sickness. and it's an inhumane decision. So yeah, the Nuremberg court now is officially corrupt.
And all courts.
Was to begin with.
Yeah.
All courts. Why do we need courts when there's diplomacy? And Vienna is the city of diplomacy.
Yeah.
And that's what we activate. We're here to talk.
Yeah.
We have the intelligence. You enemies of life do not.
Mm.
And we are coming together with our human family. You can't do anything about it.
Mm.
They have no other choice but to talk to us now.
Mm.
So it's just a waiting game. See how long it
Yeah.
takes. But I highly sense that time is coming quick.
Yeah.
That's why I keep speaking about it.
Yeah. Well, gentlemen, I'm feeling like the energy's winding up. You feeling the same thing?
Yeah.
I really want to say how much of a pleasure it's been once again. The time has just flown by. I just looked at the clock and it's like, wow, that was like.
How long has it been? I mean, a couple of hours?
Yeah, over a couple of hours. To me, it feels like an hour that we've been speaking. It doesn't feel like we've been speaking for a couple of hours. Yeah, it's amazing, amazing. We bend time every time we get together. Thank you so much. And again, I just want to acknowledge your raw courage, just to be real, not fake courage, raw courage. And it's organic, it's homegrown, it's real, comes out from inside you. And I absolutely love it. So, yeah, just want to acknowledge you both for being warriors of life, warriors of love, and warriors of light. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our pleasure. And to be honest with you, the more you do it, the easier it becomes. You think to yourself, it gets more difficult. I suppose it does, but it gets easier for you as the one doing it. So it gets easier. It doesn't get more difficult.
Exactly. Yeah.
The difficult part, I think, is beginning it, making the first move.
Yes.
And then everything else follows from there.
Yes.
It's like that with everything in life. And every, you know?
It's a choice. That's all it is.
Yeah. Thank you. Another excellent episode of Superhero Radio. Thank you so much for coming on. Full respect to you guys. And I look forward to another update down the track. If you would love to come back on, I would dearly love to have you back on. Yeah.
Absolute pleasure.
Right. Who knows what kind of information we'll have for the next one? Better news.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Lots of love to you both. And thank you again.
Thank you, George.
Thank you, George.
It was amazing.